Welcome to Killer Women with your host, best-selling author Danielle Girard. And now, Danielle's next killer woman.
Hello, and welcome to Killer Women Podcast, a proud member of the Authors on the Air global network with more than 4 million listeners. I am your host, suspense author Danielle Girard, and my guest today is Michelle Maryk. Michelle graduated from Cornell University with a degree in English and attended the Yale Writers Workshop. For the better part of 25 years, she's been a successful voiceover, on-camera commercial, and comedic actor, and she is a dual Swedish and US citizen. The Found Object Society is her debut novel. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much. I am beyond thrilled to be here.
Well, this whole thing is beyond thrilling, and I had the opportunity to read The Found Object Society early and it's so clever. So we're going to talk about this, all the things, because it's your debut, and I know a lot of people want to hear like how it happened, how long it took, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But before we get into all that good nonsense,
Mhm.
would you tell our listeners about the Found Object Society?
Absolutely. The Found Object Society, it's a book of speculative suspense, and it's about a deeply troubled socialite named Greta Davenport, who is leaving a big gala one night, and she's driving home drunk, and she almost crashes her car into a tree. And not good, not recommended. Um, and when she gets home to her fabulous mansion, a blank white card slides under her door. It's like 6 by 6, just comes under her door. She throws the door open, and there's no one there. And she kind of looks at it drunkenly, doesn't think much about it. And then the next day, she randomly discovers that there's a hidden QR code in it. And it's an invitation to the Found Object Society, where people pay exorbitant sums of money to hold an object and experience the death of the last person who died touching it. And things go way off the rails from there.
I love that. I just get shivers. Like, and I read the book, and I got shivers to hear the description because, okay, so
Thank
first
you.
of all, the first most pressing question is, where in the world did this idea come from?
Yeah, sure. I can see how you think that. Well, I was sitting by our wood stove one night, and I think a cat or two were on my lap, and I was drinking wine, and I was like just doom scrolling through Instagram, and I landed on an ad for Etsy, and it was like an etched 1920s martini glass. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, wow, I wonder maybe someone died when they were holding it. And and then if they died, like where did that energy go? And then I just sat there and I was like, found object. And I was like, oh, that's something. And I was actually in the middle of, or like at the beginning of writing a different novel, and I'm a huge completionist. And so I was like, okay, cool, I'll put that on the back burner. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I started thinking about this woman, this rich woman whose parents died, and she feels guilty that it was her fault. Um, and it just sort of went from there. And I actually stopped writing the other one, and I was like, okay, I have to do this. So I'm
So
really
this
glad I
is
did.
so we talked about this being your debut. Can tell
Yeah,
us about the like, when did you start writing? I feel like we all have books that are buried in the backyard. That's how I always refer to them.
yeah,
But tell our listeners, because I think it's really important to understand just how much hard work got you to
yeah,
this place.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I graduated from school, as I was a creative writing and drama major. Um, and so I'd always written, I wrote like a collection of short stories for my thesis. And then I went to comedy and acting, and I started writing one-woman shows and sketches, and I did that for a longer than we need to discuss. But I mean, it was great, super fun. And then late 2019, I was like, gee, maybe I ought to go back to, more narrative fiction. Like, how would that be? And so I started writing this novel actually called The Overgrown, which isn't buried. I'm actually very proud of it, and we might do something with it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I started so that was the first novel, and then I started really getting into it. I was like, I'm going to start going to writing conferences and meeting people like Danielle Girard. Um, and so essentially going to like AWP, Thriller Fest, BoucherCon, that became my MFA, in a way. I feel like I learned more and experienced more by meeting successful authors and hearing about their process. And so after the overgrown, I started querying agents, all that. And I was actually getting really pretty good and close, like right off the bat, which was
Wow.
exciting. Um, and then I was like, I'm going to keep writing. And I wrote a different novel called Cigarette Girl, which is actually being considered right now. So,
Yay.
and that's a standalone. These are both standalones. And then I started writing a different one called The Murmuration at the time. It's now called Mater because I did go back and finish it. But that's when the Found Object Society came to me. And so sort of wedged in there is when I finally sort of successfully got a couple of agents interested and ended up signing. I I got the call from my agent on my birthday, September 28th, which was great, 23. So, that's not that long
No,
ago.
not compared to lots of folks. Yeah, that was pretty quick.
So, but I'm older, so I got to compress it all. My window is shrinking.
No.
But yeah, so that's how, I got to that point. Yeah. And it's been, we were just talking about this. My book, when this airs, my book I think will have been out for like a week, maybe. But I feel lucky to have the kind of remarkable wake me up in the middle of the night anxieties that I'm having now, as opposed to the ones I was having like 2.5 years ago when I was like, will I get an agent and
Yeah.
all of that. So the anxiety never goes away, folks. It just takes a different form, but you
Yeah.
got to celebrate it all.
You got to celebrate it all. And actually, Michelle and I are going to do a couple of events together in
I know.
Texas, of all places, which is a place
It's,
neither of us is from or anything like that. But
mm,
we will
I've never
be
been.
you've never been? I've been there.
No. Yeah.
Well, we're going to be in Houston at Murder by the Book together, and then we're going to be in Dallas at
Naturally. Yeah.
Interbang. Um,
Yes.
which is so
I'm
fun.
so
So we'll
excited.
get to the details of that. So
Yep.
I'm curious to know. So when you queried, it sounds like actually all of your books have kind of made they're none of them are DNRs. They all have
Not yet. No.
potentially, which is
Yeah.
I mean that's unusual. I think usually
Yeah.
everybody has a book where they're like that was my learning book, but you had already
Right.
done so much writing. So um
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I mean, it was a different form of writing, but I think it's more, Danielle, that I did a lot of living, honestly, and had more time to think about it. I've always been an avid reader too, and I mean, it was like immersing yourself in a language, really. I don't mean to like talk about it over and over again, but going to these conferences was like I felt like I really found my people, and um, and just I'm a pretty outgoing person, but I mean, in those kind of big situations, like I used to be really stressed about it, and I was like, Michelle, just don't be, just start talking to people. And Georgina Cross
yeah.
was the first person. I was at my first Thriller Fest. I walked down to the bar. I had my big dorky name tag on, and I was like standing in the bar, and I was like, doo doo doo. And then like this beautiful woman like waves. She's like, come here. And and Georgina. And so I came over and she started talking to me. And then like 3 minutes later, Claire McIntosh comes over. And so we start talking, and then we're buying each other champagne. And then, so it's just I I just opened myself up and allowed it to happen and not be afraid. And I think maybe some of being an actor and being comfortable in front of the camera, and even if it's talking to the camera as opposed to lots and lots of people, I think it really helped me be at least outwardly appearing confident. Um,
Yeah, are comfortable even, right? Just
Very
like
comfortable. Yeah,
not so nervous. And I think
yeah,
each of us feel, I mean, I still feel that when I get down to the bar the first night or into the crowd the first night and think,
yeah,
okay, where am I, and if you don't see your people right away, you're like, oh God, I don't belong here. I need to go back to
yeah,
my
I
room
know.
and hide,
Yep.
hide in the corner. So when you wrote I'm curious because the Found Objects Society is a very intricately sort of structured novel.
Yeah,
And I'm curious to know, because I think the other thing is writing a book in general is also obviously really hard, but then
right.
writing one that has sort of the construct and the the sort of magical realism
Yeah, yeah.
elements, all of that. Did you, how did you do that? Did you lay it all out or, no?
No, I am not a lay it all out kind of a person. I my my phone is filled with the notes part. I take a lot of notes. Like even if I'm not in the act of writing, like usually before I start writing something, it's all in the back, like churning away. And so it all becomes a series of what ifs. What if this? Oh, what if the protagonist did this? And um, oh, what if she experienced lots of different objects from different eras? And so and I write, if you don't know, there's a great app, not you, everybody, called Scrivener, and that's where I write. So I'm not a plotter, and I'm not fully a pantser. I'm a little in between, but it was complicated, and I don't know. It sounds corny, but this idea really just it was really a bit of a bolt of lightning, and I started it in April, and I was done by August. And
Wow.
the first draft was like 120,000 words. Um, and so I just kind of started going, and I knew what I wanted the first line to be. This version of Greta Davenport doesn't care that she's about to drive drunk. And I knew what my last line was going to be, which I'm not going to share, but it mirrors the first one. And so what I did was I sort of took all these notes and I put them in the sidebar of Scrivener.
Okay.
And so I started sort of blocking it out, and I didn't know where it was going to go exactly. I had an idea about the end, but there were many different versions of it in my mind. But I was like, I'm just going to find it. I'm going to find it and see what happens. Um, and I think a lot of the fact that I come from a comedy improv
Yeah.
background has makes me feel comfortable doing that, because I was like, just stop thinking and just sort of go.
Yeah.
Um, and then I did know, I was like, okay, I want three objects. So what we have is a 19th century uh, beautiful little bottle of perfume from France, 1970s Elton John windshield wiper sunglasses, and very intricate Art Deco enamel cigarette lighter from 1920s, and that's in Chicago. Um, but so I kind of knew the era that I wanted to write in, but not and kind of the character, but I didn't know the object. So an editor friend of mine sent me the picture of the perfume bottle, and I was like, "That's it." Um, and then I asked my husband. I was like, because he knows a lot about the 70s, and I was like, "Okay, I need a good 70s one." I was like, "I don't want a lava lamp." And so he was like, "How about this?" And so he gave me the glasses. Um, and then the lighter kind of reflects my seeing the martini glass. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to do the martini glass. I wanted something else.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew what each character would be. Um, and then as far as like writing structurally, at first I was just going to write all the Greta, all the protagonist,
Yeah.
and then come back and write each object. But I decided to write it all beginning to end, because I wanted to experience what Greta experienced.
Right.
Um, and be able to react to that when she comes back from her
From
voyage.
each, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really fun, and it gave me breaks too.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Greta, pause. Like her
Yeah, we
crazy
get to go into
routine,
this other
pause.
place. And
Yeah.
the actual location of the Found Objects Society, I remember you talking about this, right? It's an
Yeah.
actual place.
It's an actual place. It's I mean, the Found Object Society doesn't exist.
No, right,
But
sorry, the
the
building.
building, yes, the building exists. 273 Water Street. It's in the South Street Seaport. And here's a fun detail. It will already have happened by the time this airs. But my launch party for February 10th is going to be at a really cool event space bar called Quick Eternity in the South Street Seaport. And it is 200 feet from 273 Water Street. And it's
That's
this cool old building. Yeah. And I'll be in conversation with Fiona Davis because she's like the queen of like New York historical fiction. So it's going to be really fun.
oh, it's so
So
fun.
yeah, I knew I wanted a really old building. I lived in New York City for 30 years, and I love it, and I've seen it change so much, which also plays a huge part of like the points of view in the book about like being so wealthy in a city that it's too rich for people who like have the real jobs to
Yeah.
live in anymore. But but I knew I wanted an old building with a troubled past, and I just stumbled upon this, and the history of it is so dark, like that Five Points New York City thing. And I was like, oh, that is so perfect. And that actually plays more of a role if there's a prequel and sequel, especially.
Which we'll talk about in a second. But I also want to talk about the idea, like, so when you write, magical realism, which I'm actually kind of playing with an idea myself for
Oh,
magical
good.
realism. It's so much fun,
It is so
but you
much.
have to kind of create rules for the world,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yep.
so, when you did that, I mean, I know you said you're not really a plotter, but did you sort of have a holistic view of what the world rules would be? Because like there's Big Daniel Craig. There's all these people that live in this stuff, which I love.
Yes.
There's Miranda, who's sort of the concierge of the experience,
She's
and
the
then
queen. Yep.
there's this big beautiful bouncer who we
Yep.
refer to as he looks sort of Daniel Craig, so he's
Big Daniel Craig.
Big Daniel Craig, which I
That's
love.
the character's name, BDC for short. Yeah.
Yes. So
Um,
did you know like how did you create that and how did you figure that out?
it unfolded a little, so it wasn't fully plotted out. Yeah, so and in fact, when you walk into the Found Object Society, there is a list of rules,
Yeah.
like literally a list of rules on the wall. So I thought that would kind of be fun.
Yeah.
And so I kind of made those up on the fly, and I was like, okay, that's neat. And then I just want to sort of walk in, like when Greta and Miranda see, like she walks in, see the collection room for the first time, and the collection room is it's one of those sort of unbelievable spaces because it just goes on forever, yet it's just below this one little building. So it's trippy in that kind of severance way, like wait, how could this be possible? All
Right.
these twists and turns um and so I just sort of let it unfold before me, and each aisle that just goes on forever is a different region and a different era. Um, and uh, but then I started, I'd have to backtrack a little and be like, okay, wait, well, she said this, so we have to make sure that she doesn't do that. But there are things that I didn't know that would become a rule until they actually happened, or maybe they were in my little margin notes of like, what if there was a syringe, or what if there was a trippy piece of taffy that Greta would eat before each voyage that like opened up her mind and brought her back to her childhood.
Right. I
Um,
love that as a connection to her childhood because, of course,
yeah,
taste is such a,
yeah,
taste and smell are like those big memory connections.
yeah,
No, I love that. So talk about, so, you just sort of just touched on it, but so this is your, debut.
yeah,
And, we always want to know kind of what are you working on, what's coming next. But you talked about sort of prequel, sequel.
yes.
Tell us a little bit more. Tell us whatever you can or are comfortable with.
Sure. Well, when I met with my wonderful editor, I actually met with a couple. I had secretly thought inside, like, wow, it would be like this is like a whole world. It's you call it like world creation. And I said, thought like, oh, it'd be really neat, like to maybe have it continue on or go back before this. And one of the things she said, unprompted to me, was, yeah, and she's at Chelsea at Hyperion Avenue, which is part of Disney Publishing, was that they were very into the idea of franchisable stories. And she said, is that something you would consider, like a prequel, sequel? And I was like, oh, gee, yes. Um, so, so that that was really exciting to me. And and in fact, a lot of the edits that we did for the Found Object Society were geared toward placing breadcrumbs for a sequel. And I won't share too much because
No, 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 no.
especially the epilogue. But but yeah, so that was so it was a very conscious thing. So now it's just about hopefully enough people like it and are interested and would like that to continue. And
Yes.
I would be thrilled to write that.
I know that's so
I
well,
do both.
it's just
Yeah.
so exciting. So tell us if you can, like what's something that I mean, as you said, you've had life experience and you know tons of authors and you've seen, you sort of know enough to probably have a pretty good idea what this is going to look like. What has there been something that's been totally unexpected in the process?
Um, let's see. I mean, I think right off the bat, like at the beginning, just how long the process is, right?
There,
I
right.
mean, because I got the offer in May of, where are we? We're okay, December 25. I got the offer in May of 24, I guess. Is that, yeah. Okay, yes, that's right. May of 24. Um, and I'm used to like commercial contracts or whatever. I was like, so like the next day I was like, great, Victoria, my agent. I was like, so where's the contract? She's like, no, this takes time. So 6 months later, the contract was ready for me to sign. So that was sort of, and I can be an impatient person. So I am really learning that this is all a long game.
Hmm.
Um, and by the time the book is out, like hopefully I'm already editing and working on either a standalone or, the sequel or prequel. And that's only like 2 months away, so we'll see. Um, but I think that was a big surprise. And because I couldn't really speak about it too much
Yeah.
until the contract was out and the announcement was made. But behind the scenes, I was working with my editor and we were already working on, you know, edits and things. So I knew it was real. I knew no one was going to be like, because the fear initially, and I have a friend who's waiting for his contract and it's his first book. And he's like, I think they gave up on me. I'm like, they didn't give up. This happens.
Right.
But you keep thinking that I'm like, yeah, they changed their mind. Oh
Yeah.
well,
It
back to
takes,
the drawing
yeah,
board.
it is. There's a long periods of just quiet that are very disquieting.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then I guess let's see, other thing. I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised because I've heard from a lot of authors how little input they've had with the cover. Interior design of the book because there are images like throughout that break up each part. And they have fully involved me,
Oh,
which is great. And actually, the book cover as it is,
yeah,
we
it's
have it.
gorgeous.
Yes, thank you. And I just saw the finals, or I'm getting the final books in just a couple weeks. It's so beautiful.
It's
It's
so
like
beautiful.
kind of embossed
Yeah, I
and
can
metallic.
imagine.
And
Oh, wow, yeah.
it's just, and like the drop coming out of the syringe is silver and the lettering is actually gold foil. It's
Oh,
really
it's gonna be
beautiful.
so fun.
Yeah. So I was very nervous that we got the first round of covers and I was like, these are nice. And I was afraid of speaking up.
Hmm.
And then we got this, and then it started building up inside me. And then we got the second round, and I was like, okay, I have to speak up. And I was like, these are really nice for a different book. I was
Yeah.
like, these aren't my book. And so I was like, give me a minute. And so I started doing research about covers that I really liked. I actually found this wallpaper designer who does exactly what that cover sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
is.
it is. It's like
You know,
so
it
if you're
has the
listening to us, you have to go check it out because it does
yeah,
have all these sort of embedded little
Easter
images that you have to
eggs
sort of
throughout.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can just, and it's all there. The lighter is
Yeah.
there and the
Yeah, the
glasses and
syringe. Yeah, it's really fun.
oh,
And the
it's
cool thing
beautiful.
is if there is like a sequel prequel, you can follow the same pattern, but then have different objects,
Yeah,
different
exactly.
colors. Yeah.
Oh, it's so, and we will have a copy of the Found Object Society and be giving that away. So,
Oh,
Michelle, tell our listeners where to find you online. I know you and I are going to be on tour together, but I know you're doing a lot of other
yes.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
tell us where to look.
Sure. Well, I have my own personal website, which is going to have all the tour details and everything else, which is just Michelle Maryk, Maryk.com. And then Instagram is where I'm most active. I don't know if my brain can like adapt to like TikTok and do those things too. But yeah, so Instagram is Michelle, it's with two L's, M, because that's my middle initial, Maryk. Um, and I do a lot of posts and updates and things there. And we hope to have the entire tour schedule, in just a couple weeks. But there's some fun stuff, and I'm so excited for us. It's like, are we going to rent a car? Are we going to drive from Dallas to
We have to
Houston?
run it. I mean, how else are we going to
Right?
get from one place to
I
another? Yeah.
know. I think there's some
In the
fun
middle
video
of Texas. Can
opportunities.
you imagine? I hope we're not going to do like a Thelma and Louise because no cliffs for us.
Me too. No cliffs. Let's avoid the cliffs. Cliffhangers, yes.
Yes. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I like that. Cliffhangers, but not cliffs.
Yeah.
Very,
That's
very clever. Well, this is so exciting. As I said, I got a chance to read Michelle's book, before publication, which was so
so
fun.
honored.
And it is the premise is so, so clever and the execution is just incredible. So
I feel so lucky to have you and some other really remarkable authors to have read and liked it. And I hope regular human civilians like
regular
it.
humans will also like it. Yeah, exactly. No, I know and actually I am having the same thought. So I guess this
Yeah.
is just the reality of being an
Yeah.
author pre-publication.
Yep.
We're
That's
going to be
true.
just going to be nervous. Well, thank you, Michelle, for joining me today.
Thank you. It
So
was so
fun.
my pleasure. And I
Everybody
can't wait to
go
see
to
Texas.
our Facebook page, our Killer Women face group where we will be giving away a copy of the Found Object Society or on Killer Women podcast on Instagram because you don't want to miss this one. I can't wait to see the final fawn cover. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.